It's finally here. This week's video, part 1 of 2, has been a long time coming and frequently requested. This episode of Stupid Vegan Comments features remarks made by the very popular and widely hated Vegan Gains. While I hold no ill will towards the man, I think it's important to address some of his comments and his approach to vegan advocacy. Like him or not, he is one of the most talked about vegans on YouTube today, and is consequently, for many, their first exposure to veganism. His in-your-face, aggressive, offensive, and quite simply immature style is without a doubt appealing to certain people, namely young new vegans full of anger and a real desire to single-handedly transform the world. However, if we are serious about ending the suffering and death of the animals we share this world with, we ought to evaluate our particular styles of advocacy and determine if we are having a net positive, neutral, or negative effect on the movement and public perception. Are Vegan Gains videos more preaching to the choir and entertainment, or about encouraging non-vegans to go vegan? Is he doing veganism, the movement, a disservice? I fully accept that no single style of communication will appeal to everyone, but I think it's important to examine one's methods because a failure to do so could invariably lead us from our intended goals. I have no doubt that many Vegan Gains fans will object to my critiques and chastise me for once again infighting within the vegan community. But if we are truly committed to encouraging others to make the switch to veganism, we not only have to inform the masses, we need to clean up shop. We do a disservice to the billions of animals killed each year when we sit quietly by while those in our movement retard our progress and degrade our characters. Now, without further ado, let's get this going.
They literally make me sick. When I see babies in a commercial, I start to gag and almost throw up, and I have to look away and mute it. And when I see babies in a stroller, especially when they're crying, I just want to put my foot through the fucking thing and step on it until it's nothing but blood and pulp on the fucking pavement!
What can I say? Part of me wonders if this visceral hatred towards babies and a desire to commit infanticide is nothing more than one YouTuber's desperate attempt to shock in order to stir up some controversy. If this is the case, what does it say about such a person? I'm personally not convinced that Vegan Gains is this good an actor, especially in light of the coming comments featured in this video. So it troubles me greatly that anyone holds such thoughts towards the most vulnerable among us. Regardless of Vegan Gains' motivations for making such disturbing and graphic comments, it is clear that anyone being exposed to veganism for the first time will be confused and disturbed, and rightfully so. Like it or not, each and every one of us is a living, breathing example of what it means to be a vegan. What you say and how you behave, especially in front of a large worldwide audience, has long-lasting effects that can be counterproductive to our end goals of reducing and eliminating the suffering and death of countless animals. I'm not saying that Vegan Gains ought not to have the freedom to express himself in whichever way he chooses. However, I contend he ought to do it as far away from vegan advocacy as possible if he truly cares about the success of the movement.
I never said I liked people. I hate people. Some people say they hate people, but I really hate people. If I don't have to work during the day, I just try and stay up all night, work out, get everything done then, and just sleep all day so that I just don't have to interact with anyone.
I'm definitely not qualified to psychoanalyze Vegan Gains' utter hatred for his fellow man, but it's apparent that he needs the assistance of a psychiatrist to root out his very strong antisocial thoughts. I can't imagine such a blanket disdain for other humans is healthy. This open display of hatred to everyone not vegan also has the effect of creating an us versus them dynamic that fosters division, not communication. Veganism already has a marketing problem on its hands with the proliferation of angry young new vegans who personally blame those who reject their vegan message. Don't get me wrong, even I, long ago, was a very emotionally driven person who could not understand why others were not equally outraged with the sheer number of death and suffering inflicted. To fan the flames of my anger further, many would unabashedly mock veganism to my face and dismiss the harm as inconsequential. This felt like a slap in the face and stirred feelings within that society at large was filled with sadistic, non-compassionate people. What I came to realize over the many years as a vegan and later as an atheist and YouTube content creator is that the success and failure of veganism does not depend on just my actions or my ability or inability to change minds. Those people I hated were not evil, but confused and indoctrinated into a mindset that saw other animals as things fit for consumption, not beings worthy of life. Only after I accepted my atheism and saw how theists desperately defended their indefensible beliefs did I realize that indoctrination is a powerful obstacle to overcome. Additionally, when someone is the brunt of your anger, they are not receptive to hearing what you have to say, no matter how true it rings. Anger is natural, given the scope of the destruction at our hands. It is, however, not a productive means to convince others to go vegan.
And I'll be dead fucking serious. I'm a sadist. I enjoy hurting people. When I just beat the ever-living shit out of somebody, I get a warm, tingly feeling inside like I'm being loved.
Oxford Dictionary defines sadism as the tendency to derive pleasure, especially sexual gratification, from inflicting pain, suffering, or humiliation on others. While I can't write off the possibility that Vegan Gains is acting out in an attempt to shock his viewers into believing that he is the antithesis of the typical vegan, compassionate, loving, and gentle, sadism is not something that ought to be worn as a badge of honor. If his comments are not an act, Vegan Gains is in serious need of professional help, as he's potentially a danger to himself and others. If instead, though, he is in character for views and channel subscriptions, then one must question what he prioritizes. A desire for growing his YouTube channel by any means necessary, or a desire to convince others to go vegan? Let me lay this question at your feet. What rational and healthy-minded individual would seriously accept the arguments of a self-admitted sadist? These kinds of comments and videos are diametrically opposed to his calls for a change to veganism. If you desire to create shocking, offensive, and outright disturbing videos for entertainment purposes, do the vegan movement a favor and separate your entertainment videos from your vegan advocacy by creating separate, unrelated channels.
Repsion's a little fucking bitch. I fucking hate that kid. If I had the opportunity, I'd kill him. Slit his fucking throat with this knife. Really like to use this knife on him. Like, he really does deserve to die. He's just a piece of shit. I don't know if he's a sociopath or not, but he's just a turd. Should just be killed. Like, he's such a smug little bitch. I'd love to just slide a knife right across his throat and just watch him, like, just look all scared when, you know, he's just dying.
As any longtime fan of my channel will know, I hold no love for Mr. Repsion and his defense for eating animals, as can be seen in this video I released last year. But it never crossed my mind to ever cause him or anyone else harm. I must admit that I haven't been following closely the feud between Vegan Gains and Mr. Repsion. However, we see from this clip that Vegan Gains is dealing with some seriously violent thoughts that require immediate attention from trained professionals. Reveling in causing the suffering and death of another is disturbing and neither entertaining, funny, nor glamorous. No matter what verbal feces was thrown between the two, resorting to murder or threats of murder is not a solution to any problem. Humans are animals too, and it is inconsistent and hypocritical to value non-human animal life while simultaneously harboring a desire to destroy human animal life. In dialogue with non-vegans, I often inquire what characteristic or natural trait possessed by humans justifies our protection while the lack of such characteristic or trait in another animal gives us liberty to use and destroy them. To Vegan Gains, and others like him, I would present the question in reverse. What about non-human animals makes them worthy of protection while the lack of such a characteristic or trait in humans afford us the freedom to harm each other? There are few truly monstrous people on this planet, and so the large majority are just someone's mother, father, brother, sister, grandmother, or child. A product of a society that has for centuries accepted archaic practices that result in the death of billions of innocent beings. I once ate animals and enjoyed it. I once would have rejected the vegan message in the time before I was ready to hear it. It's important to remember who we once were and to continue to put on those shoes so that we empathize rather than vilify. Thanks for watching. Part 2 of my critique of vegan gains will come out next Friday, so subscribe and keep an eye out for it. If you enjoyed this video, click the like button and subscribe. If you can spare a few dollars to support the efforts of this channel, visit my Patreon page here and become a patron today. If you're looking for a great place to communicate with vegans, atheists, theists, and non-vegans from across the globe, consider joining the Vegan Atheist Forum. Our growing community is always looking for new members with whom we can share our experiences, debate issues, discuss, and learn from each other. Join the conversation at theveganatheist.com/forum.